Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Teresa Conroy-Roth, and you are watching the latest episode of Lightning Leadership. With me today is Sonal Sheth Zawahri, and I am so glad, so very glad to have her on today. We've been trying to get her on. I've been trying to get her on for a little more than 6 months now. So Sonal, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much, Teresa. I'm so glad that we were able to make this happen. I'm grateful.
Oh my goodness, yes. And we live so close.
Yes.
And our personalities and our styles are just so cool together. And so I'm excited to see what we can bring to everyone today.
Yay, me too.
So as we talk about intentional leadership, what do you think are some key points for folks as they walk into a leadership role being intentional?
You know, honestly, one of the greatest things for me is when leaders don't show up like they know everything. Right? I know, right? It's less about having all the answers and more about being consistent on how you show up for people, right? How you're willing to stretch as a leader yourself and showing up that way for them so that they can use it as a model. It gives them permission to show up that way as well. So that to me is intentional leadership. And that's why I built my 2 frameworks specifically around that.
So let's talk about your framework. And I'm so interested in how you show up. And then I'm also interested in your stretch methodology. I've seen that in action. I've seen your presentations, your very lively presentations. Let's talk about why they're great. I really enjoy them. But let's talk about them to give everybody a chance to get to know you.
Thank you. Yeah. So honestly, when I started the business, stretch was what led me and started and created my foundation, because I knew I needed to step and stretch out of my comfort zone, because that's when the magic happens. And so because I spent the last so many years building on that, creating that, I have 14 other programs that are anchored in emotional intelligence and the stretch method. And what that does is it really focuses on the internal work of leadership, right? Self-awareness, emotional intelligence, adaptability, intentional growth. And I have a workbook that goes with that and an online course, actually. So that's what that works on. And as time was going on, Teresa, I was in spaces where I was like, I didn't even realize I said, hey, how are you showing up today? And people are like, you use that phrase a lot. And I said, I do, don't I? Well, you know what? I'm going to create a framework.
Okay.
And so show up. So stretch again focuses on the internal work of leadership, and show up with 2 P's, by the way, because it has to be show up, right? Focuses on the external behaviors, right? That the teams experience. So communication, clarity, accountability, follow through. And that program, and each of those programs, by the way, is an acronym. So stretch, each of the letters of stretch is a chapter in the workbook and is also part, or depending on how I do the training, it's a section in each of the trainings. And same with show up. So show up has 7 stages to it because every letter stands for something. And I take, people on that journey in that space so that they understand how the both of those connect.
So stretch is internal, show up is external.
Correct. So as I started learning that, hey, I'm teaching people how to show up for themselves internally, I started experiencing and being invited to speak to organizations on communication. Conflict.
That's huge.
How do we work through conflict management? Look, most leaders all genuinely care.
They do.
Right?
They do.
They want to support people. They want to create positive cultures. But under pressure, and we know the world is under pressure, consistency, can start to break down, right? And so these tools, and that's what these are, is they're tools to help every leader in that space, individual or within teams or senior leadership, really set up a platform on how they're showing up and how that, not just for themselves, but for their team members with consistency. So when you leave these programs, you actually have tools in your tool belt that say, hey, wait, today's a difficult conversation. Hold on. I have the exact tool I need to walk through that process.
Sure. I mean, I think in this, I can't even say a word other than crazy climate, right? Both both politically and for organizations. Because with the age of AI, right, there's a number of things that are happening from a change perspective. And there's some real challenges. As we talk about challenges, and then we always also have to talk about opportunities, because I think those words really do go hand in hand. What are you seeing are some of those challenges and opportunities that leaders are really facing today?
I think that's a great question, because like you're saying, like you just announced, so much change constantly, right? And we've all learned that the most consistent thing in life is change. So one of the biggest challenges I see is that many leaders, they're trying to lead today's teams using yesterday's leadership habits.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Right.
Tell me more.
Okay. They're trying to lead primarily through authority. Okay. Assuming that silence means alignment. Avoiding difficult conversations. Focusing only on productivity without realizing that people also need clarity. They need trust. They need communication. And my biggest and favorite one and hard one is emotional safety in order to perform well. And that's why I actually created my value card decks, because when people feel valued, they show up on purpose with intention and productivity. And they're not going to feel valued if their leaders are not catching up with the times, if they're not pressing pause, because pause is emotional intelligence. So I really believe that leaders, teams today are craving more intentional leadership, right? Not perfection. I think it's even better when it's not perfect, right? But they want consistency. They want self-awareness. They want genuine connection.
I agree. Let's talk about pause. Tell me more about pause.
Oh, I love that. I have a t-shirt. I have a t-shirt for every talk I give, and I have one that says pausing is emotional intelligence.
Yeah, tell me.
It could be individually or on a team. Let me give you a simple everyday, every person habit, right? Okay. When you get angry or upset, and you know what? If I may, I have a 12-year-old going on to 13.
Okay.
Right? So there's that example, right? When
they're done that, when they're done there 3 times.
Okay. And my first time, and I'm in my late 50s, so I'm an old mom, right? So I have, when she says something because she's receiving information, and this is any human, and it triggers them, we want to react. And we want to say all the things. Well, personally and professionally, what do we say? I always tell her, think it through. Don't say it. Don't text yet. Not yet, Nadia.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say your name, but say it and put it aside. Same thing we do with organizations and emails, right?
Yeah.
If you're upset, go ahead and type it all out, but don't click send yet. It's that simple. Pausing isn't complicated. If we're looking at pausing in other spaces, it's about when something comes at you. One of my favorite things to do in the self-awareness trainings that I do is trigger maps. Do we even know what triggers us? And when you do, what do you do about it? What are you teaching those around you how to show up and what to say to keep you from reacting? All of that requires pause. All of that requires a moment to sit in what's there and go, okay, let me be intentional about this. That's the pause. And that's emotional intelligence in my experience.
That's awesome. Just as an FYI, and we were talking about this earlier today, right? Big decisions, I overnight process. It's my thing. Yes. I've always been that way. I'm not going to make a knee-jerk reaction, right? I am going to sit and I'm going to overnight process. Again, for the things that I'm heavily triggered by, right? It's huge for me. It's saved me more times than once. The other big aha on that one is just getting up and going for a walk outside.
Yes.
Taking 10 minutes, walking around the block, walking around the office parking lot, just trying to get some endorphins released, to clear the head, right? To take away the filters and try to look at things from multiple directions. But when you said pause, that was the first thing, right, that I thought of just how do you let go and get a blank piece of paper?
Absolutely. And I would like to say one thing, and I think a lot of people either think about this or don't, but when you pause, that's why meditation, all these words that processes or tools that people use out there, it's all essentially the same when you say pause. And I say that when it comes to feelings like anger, nervous. If you really think about those energies and you close your eyes, they resonate in your body at the same vibration. So I always teach people, if that's the power we have in choice, pause and reassign and reframe, because you have that ability. Now, a lot of people are like, I don't know how to do that. Cool. Thank you for being honest. Now let's learn together. And
I love it.
Design the communication. I do it all the time. Hey, you just did it yesterday. Hey, that was a trigger. Give me a minute. Can you say this instead next time? Because it makes me feel this way. And now I've taught my husband, my people in my life, that's what I need to hear. And they practice, and we make mistakes, and we keep practicing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that. I love that so much. So tell me about your show up model. Let's talk about that and creating change at multiple levels.
Yeah. So show up is, I'm going to tell you what it stands for. Okay.
Okay.
It really helps leaders move from good intentions to consistent behaviors. All right. So S for show up means set the stage. So depending on what I'm invited to come and talk about or what you're going through, first you have to identify and set the stage. That's kind of where the culture, the beginning of the start setting the culture comes from. Okay. H is highlight the outcomes. What is it? Like we all say, we want this, we want that. Well, if you're going to tell people what you want, are you really identifying it? Are they clear on what success looks like in that space? So that's highlighting the outcomes. O is operate with confidence. This is when we get to discover this is all the self-awareness piece. What are your triggers? What are your strengths? Whether you do Myers-Briggs or DISC or Clifton Strengths, what are those? Don't just know the words. Digest them and understand how they show up for you every day. And what's not showing up with you when you need it the most. W, my favorite, is walk with emotional intelligence. I deeply go into that category by giving them tips and tools on how to apply the self-awareness, the self-management, the empathy and social awareness, and how to build those solid relationships. That's in the W.
Love it. Love it.
U is about unleash action. All right, let's do this. Okay, pause though. If we're going to do this, the first P is prioritize and pivot. Before we do this, let's identify, what do we want to start? What do we want to stop? What's working? What's not working? And then our final P is let's perform with purpose. Let's do this now. Now that we have this model, let's push it out there and let's make it happen. And so this show up model at the core, both frameworks are really about helping leaders become more intentional about how they lead themselves and how they lead others. And so with both of those models, and just depends on the space I'm invited to, right? So like I did it for a 4-hour retreat for an organization. Another one said, can you do an 8-hour class? Someone says, can you do it for 2 hours? So depending on their needs, I adapt and then customize. I listen. What are your gaps? What are you trying to get? What are you experiencing? And then I adapt that model to fit them.
Sonal, thank you so much. Oh my gosh. I learn so much every time we have a conversation, and we just don't do it frequently enough.
I know. We have to do it more. We'll have to go grab coffee.
I would love that. I would love that. So please reach out to Sonal on LinkedIn. If you're interested in reaching out to her to schedule some time to learn more about her. She has a website. She's just one of my favorite people. So thank you. Seriously, thank you so much for coming on. Always so much to share.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I appreciate you. I really do. For those of you that are watching on LinkedIn, we're also available on Spotify and YouTube. Check us out. And with that, have a great rest of the day, everyone. Bye, Sonal.
Bye. Thank you.
Yay. And we're done.